mean, there's a lot of different theories of the things you could do. A lot of this is still very new because obviously naval mechanics are fairly new and not very well understood yet. So I'm curious to see more interesting things than just everyone building lots of submarines. The other thing to consider is the admirals. So again, submarines are fairly easy to rank up the admirals. Once you get Seawolf, you can then just get the submarine focused things and possibly blockade runner. For the destroyer guys, it's a little harder. Like, you'll want to get fleet protector, but they do level up slower. So that will give you the screening efficiency. Destroyer leader gets you more visibility, damage, and torpedo hit chance. Then finally, hunter killer, submarine detection plus 20% for your destroyers right there. In fact, I don't even think that's necessarily for destroyers, it's just submarine detection. And that submarine attack and detection is not for submarines, it's anti-submarines. Aren't cruisers too expensive to be using as sub-hunters? Yes, probably. You can, but they are expensive. Destroyers, just for the number that you can pump out, will be better sub-detection. Surface detection, nothing beats a light cruiser. Well, you only really need radar on depth charges and the destroyers. Yeah, sonar, not radar. I mean, if you have sonar and radar, then you'll spot things very quickly. And if you have sonar, radar, and air superiority, and this is a function which is often forgotten, air superiority gives you sub-detection. Which is why carriers might come in, because you can give carriers an air superiority mission. Oh, and state radar. Yeah, state radar does too. Land-based. Now, one thing I learned is that apparently land-based AA doesn't actually shoot planes down. It just protects you. The only thing they shoot down is tactical and strategic bombers who are trying to hit your infrastructure. If something attacks your units in an area with state AA, it ignores them. Just reduces the damage they take. So you do actually want AA units in your units. If you're going to be facing air superiority. So, thanks to YouTube comments for that. That was something I didn't know. Delegates from socialist nations and political movements around the world gathered in Paris today for the latest in a series of world congresses. While the mantle of the Third Internationale was taken up by the communards after the Russian Civil War, the ideological tenor of the event promises to be very different, with syndicalist parties being the newly dominant force of the far left. Delegates were greeted by a military parade, an exhibition of the avant-garde art, and finally a speech by the chairman of the CSP. AA in your units only kill planes on CAS missions, meaning CAS and tactical. That's true. But if you are getting bombed by CAS, then you probably do want AA to protect against that. I mean, the best thing is still just to build fighters for air superiority. Particularly if you're on the defensive. On the offensive, you may want to consider AA a bit more. Because you get pretty hefty bonuses if you're on the defensive. Especially with radar. The debate has wandered into the area of economics. As it's been predicted, every faction's put forward their own suggestions. Most people assume that the Maximists will win this debate, since Oswald Mosley is a major figure in the British economy these days. So the Maximists say it must be expanded, centralised and streamlined. The economy must be expanded and streamlined. Or the economy must be given to the home nations. No, we're definitely saying expanded and centralised. Are heavy fighters any use? Yes. So if you're suffering a lot of damage from tactical bombers and strategic bombers, then you want to use heavy fighters as their counter, not regular fighters. Regular fighters just can't do enough damage. And the other thing is heavy fighters have a much higher range. So in Europe, where the air zones are pretty small, you probably want fighters. But if you're fighting in, say, China, where the air zones are really big, you probably want heavy fighters. And also just how far the air bases are spaced out. In the Far East, yeah, heavy fighters are better. And if you want to escort your own bombers, heavy fighters make better escorts. AA also gives your troops piercing. I assume this helps against tanks. Only really light tanks. So if you're up against anything lighter than an upgraded... Well, anything heavier than a light tank which has not been upgraded, then yes, AA is fine, but I wouldn't rely on it. Against like mechanized and motorized, it's probably okay. But tanks, no. Catholic faithful in Rome breathed a sigh of relief as the Sistine Chapel's chimney billowed forth white smoke, signifying the election of a new pope. A short time later it was announced that the pious and popular Eugenio Cardinale Pacelli had become His Holiness Pope Pius XII, so it's Pius again. The Third Internationale. France has gone on with its designs to hold the first Congress of the Third Internationale, and we, as expected, have received an invitation. It would be foolish not to send a delegation. Tell the French we can't make it. We're, Why would you ever do this? Unless you're purposely trying to undermine your country, I guess. So, Mark Leake. You are not communist, therefore I don't care about you. Which British city will hold the Spartacade? Several beautiful cities of our great union have declared their willingness to hold the Spartacade. Which one will have the honour of hosting the greatest syndicalist sport event of 1937? Manchester. Clearly, Lancashire is superior. Which also means that I can stop upgrading Lancashire. Doesn't need it. Syndicalism in Spain. Joaquin Ascano Budria has taken the stage and elaborated his position of the CNTFAI in Spain for the Congress. The CNTFAI is the largest syndicalist party in Spain, made up of the anarcho-syndicalists, moderate syndicalists and trade unionists. The Spanish revolutionaries have seen the White Terror, violent counter-revolutionary actions taking place against the workers firsthand. They've come asking for support of their cause when the moment comes. Britain will do what it can. John Jack Reed and the Combined Syndicates. American journalist, poet and syndicalist activist John Jack Reed spoke to the Congress for an hour and 15 minutes about the crisis facing the United States and the chance for the revolution in the Western Hemisphere. In the South, the American First Committee is stronger than the central government, and the North is suffering from the depression of the West Coast as the West Coast prospers. If the United States were to crumble in the face of the revolution, then the exiles would be paralyzed. We shall pledge our support to the American worker. Internal policy vote. The debate has wandered into the area of internal policy. As has been predicted, every faction has put forward their own suggestions. The outcome is unsure. Since it is here, the real decision for the future of the Union will be made. Local governments must be brought in line with the TUC. The current system is satisfactory. Decentralisation, perhaps even local TUCs for home nations. Current's fine. It's not a problem. Women's role in the worldwide revolution. Yesterday, Helen Crawford took the stage with a flaming speech about the women's role in the world revolution. According to her arguments, without women's participation in industry and armed forces, it may be impossible to defeat the many enemies of the proletariat. Tempting as it may seem, the political climate in Britain is not ready for such a decision. We must wait for the Congress of Trade Unions to fall in the fall to force the matter. Playing base game, Germany refused the naval treaty. USA declared war on Germany in 1936. Really? Oh, that's interesting. We heard Joaquin Ascando Bruderia speak of the White Terror horror stories when they were coming out of Madrid and Barcelona, and Kurt Kirchner, Bavarian socialist, wanted to delve deeper into the topic of the White Terror, and he was given the floor. After hearing more stories that have come out of Germany, Austria, Hungary, Russia and Finland, the Congress members were ready to make their decisions. Another reason we must end the capitalist system of murder and robbery. We must admit it would be hypocritical if we denounce the terror. We must end these tragedies. Bharatiya Commune asked for support. The Bharatiya Commune has asked for the support in their struggle against its neighbours, Delhi and the Princely Federation. They would like us to send military advisors to train their leaders and their troops. Yes, we will do so. Alright, are my planes trained yet? They are. Well, some of them. And now we'll gain a little bit of oil. So how much am I generating right now? 18. Oswald Mosley, actually. Oh, he's probably a resource generation. So Lothian and Lanark are oil producers. I really do think that they should add oil to Shetland. To mimic the North Sea oil exploitation. I know it would be ahead of schedule, but I think it would be in this kind of Britain. Ahead of time. The military policy vote. The debate has wandered into the area of military affairs. It's been predicted every faction's put forward their own suggestions. The debate is heated, since the last few days have only too clearly shown the deep rift in the TUC. Army must be expanded, but only in self-defense. Syndicalists now have 66%. CNTFAI. The leaders of the CNTFAI have fled to Spain, where they currently face arrest and imprisonment. They've come to us, asking for training and support, so that when they return they can be prepared to take down the king. I'm going to give them whatever they need. Ooh, and this also puts me even closer to changing policy, which I could actually have done a while ago. We're going to do early mobilization. Hadn't quite realised I could have done that some time ago. Radio. And basic machine tools. On the same day. So I am going to get radio detection because I want it. And we're also going to start doing concentrated industry. Oh, I really need to do aircraft as well. Badly. Non-aggression pact with the Soviets. Interesting. Hello. Would you like some volunteers? Can I even do volunteers? I don't even have 20 to... Seriously? Nope, we have 18. Well, that's slightly disappointing. Let's get some Home Guard out. Russian Republic has declared war on the Soviet Russia. I would like to send you some Lend-Lease. You do have ports. Yes, I will send you 50 convoys and 10% of my production. The resignation of Philip Snowden. On the last day of the TUC Congress, Chairman Philip Snowden climbed up to the podium and made a speech. He claimed that in the face of the massive rifts within the TUC and due to his age, he intended to resign his post. He also pulled out the cliché time with the family hit that all politicians do. The congregation stood silent as he climbed down from the podium and made his way out of the hall. The country is shocked. In a few days' time, the TUC will have to vote on a new chairman. The Second Russian Civil War. Just 20 years ago, in the last years of the Weltkrieg, the Russian Empire collapsed, ripped apart by nationalist movements and divided between the whites and the reds. After a German intervention, the Republican government defeated the Bolsheviks, but it appears that the Russian revolutionary spirit was not extinguished. Civil War in Russia. The crisis in Russia has reached a frightening level of intensity, and now Russian workers have risen to struggle for freedom against the capitalist oppression once more. Should we help them, even though the Bolshevik methods are rather extreme? Help the Russian workers. Kind of annoyed that I didn't realise that I didn't have quite enough troops. Russia wants docking rights, absolutely. Chairman election. The Feds and Cons secure a majority. The TUC has decided to vote for Arthur Horner's Federationalists and Annie Kenny's Congregationalists with an overwhelming majority. The two running mates will now have to decide on who will become the new chairman, or chairwoman, of the TUC. So, Kenny or Horner? I don't know. Actually, yes, there is going to be differences in there. So we need to go to ministers. And let's take a look at Annie Kenny. Stability and war support up. Political power gain goes down. Or Horner. Man, there's a lot of choices here. Crikey. Here's political power gain up and factory output. I do like my stability. We're going to go with Kenny. Let's do it. So Annie Kenny is now in charge. No, Horner is still in charge, apparently. What? Well, that's a little disappointing. I know she's head of government, but she doesn't do anything for that. Are you too late to make a direct rule from London joke? You are never too late for a direct rule joke, Templin. Also, hello, Templin. We'll be back, still lurking. Gotta watch the start at 1.5. Took my pups to the dog park for another 2+ hours today. Lucky pups over 4 hours at the park today. Those are some very lucky dogs. For the UOB, it's the opposite. It becomes the head of state. I'm pretty sure it's weird. The winner becomes the head of state and the loser becomes the head of government. Well, that's really annoying. I think I would have gone for Horner in that case. Oh well, we still get the factory output, I guess. We just won't have the construction speed, which is... No, we're going to go back to the autosave. 18 days ago. Oh, it's because I reinstalled. I need to change my autosave policy. It's because I had to reinstall Hearts of Iron. Because it got bugged. And all of my settings changed. Okay, so, glad I noticed that. We want... Ah, here we go. Weekly autosaves. Now we need to do the Soviet stuff again, so it doesn't look like I'm sending them any gear, and that probably also means I'm not building the Home Guard units. I'm not. And you are not actually at war yet. Start Lend-Lease. 50 convoys. Sent. 10% of those. Go. Tomorrow's session is labelled Paradox Games. Will I be showing new content or something? No, it's part of the series that's been going on all week, Utopia. So, yesterday was Europe Universalis 4. Today was Crusader Kings. Tomorrow is Hearts of Iron. It's a tournament, basically, between a group of YouTubers, including myself, Ben Magnus, Prussian Prince, and Uldrahill. Prussian won the first session, I came second, and Uldra came third. Today's, and Ben came last, today's was Prussian first. Prussian seems to be really good at Paradox games. Second place was Ben, third place was Uldra, I came last. I'm terrible at Crusader Kings, it turns out. And then tomorrow's Hearts of Iron. Soviet Russia has accepted these terms. And apparently, if Prussian wins again tomorrow, then he's won it all already on the third day. And unfortunately, Hearts of Iron is his strongest game. As he demonstrated rather ably in the 3-day war, where he just crushed all of us. Thankfully, it's a co-op game and not competitive, though. So it's an interesting premise they have. It's basically the four of us playing as Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria, and Yugoslavia in the Axis during Operation Barbarossa, and the objective is to kill as many Soviets as possible. We're all on the same time, on the same side, so we're all having to like defend each other, but also trying to get as many kills as possible. To be fair to you, CK2 is a very deep and complex game. Yeah, and I just don't play the way that they wanted us to play. Like, had this been about, like, Viking raids, I probably would have swept to the floor. But there were neither Vikings nor raiding, so I couldn't. Like, every single game since, like, the first one, where I probably played in 1066, have been Old Gods. No Vikings, no raiding. Is that even a game anymore? I mean, I made things purposefully difficult for myself because we could create custom characters. So of course I created a Germanic character in the middle of the HRE in the 1066 start. So I was going to get persecuted from the very beginning, but at least I could still join the Viking societies. So there was a little bit of familiarity, and the plan was to try and earn 100 piety as quickly as I could, and then fake confess, or fake convert to Catholicism, but still be a secret Viking. And then use my warrior society abilities to capture more people in battles and sieges, and then execute them to get the objectives. But seeing as I died before I think I even hit 60 piety, it was never going to happen. And then I had 2 sons, both of them were Germanic and like less than 15, so there was no way they were going to survive. Especially once the half-an-hour moratorium on assassinating other players ended. So, as soon as I contracted syphilis, it was game over. I'm still confused how on earth that happened. I have no idea. Because the wife didn't have it, and I wasn't screwing around. That's one of the things you do actually have control over in CK2. So how did I get it? I'm confused by this, because it killed me. And I'm a little bit bitter. Because I thought I had a pretty good plan, and then it all just collapsed, and then I ended the game with just 2 kills. I was like, alright. Well, that was fun. It was a 2-hour stream, and I had to end the stream after an hour, because that's how long I lasted. Well, that's the thing, Sparrowhawk. No, because she didn't have it, and I didn't sleep around. Hence the confusion. Paddy the Pyro, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Right, so this time we're going to go with Comrade Horner is in charge, so that Kenny is going to be the... here we go. Stability. And now we have 63 stability, which gives us a massive boost to construction speed, and also like a 5% factory output boost, so I think overall it is stronger. And now we can choose status quo, which will give us the political power, then more stability, more political power. Do we necessarily need that now, though? Or should I start going for the industrial tax? I feel like I should get these 2 at the very least. Let's do that. To prepare our syndicalist industry for the fight against the capitalists, we should establish the Department for Central Industry Research. This office will help us over... Actually, no, we are going to do status quo. We're going to do status quo, then that, then that. And the reason is this is going to allow me to mobilize fast. Am I actually going to be able to? Partial mobilization. Have at least 25% war support. We're at 41, so yes, I will be able to do this. And hopefully also bring in the industrial company, which will give us even faster Marconi. Yeah, I like this plan. It's a good plan. Let's do it. The Syndicalist Order has withstood an onslaught of political challenges, but has held firm. Britain shall keep its course and continue to boldly and unapologetically champion the cause of the worker and the revolution above all else. A Russian Republic has declared war on the Don Cuban Union. Really? War on 2 fronts, Russia. That's brave. Especially because Don Cuban aren't exactly pushovers. Well, okay, maybe they are. You can be born with syphilis if your mother had it. Custom characters. Shouldn't have been a thing. Sometimes seems to occur completely by RNG. Have on multiple occasions end up with illnesses for seemingly no reason. Yeah, must have been. I feel the Union of Britain's way stronger than the Commune of France in Kaiserreich. I disagree. mean, there are some things that they definitely do better, but did you see the medium tank divisions during the Kaiserreich tournament? Good grief! 1,500 breakthrough. Like, there's nothing that can resist that, not really. Instruction 1. Yeah, I was thinking of Alash Order, not Don Kuban. News emerged from Bangkok today that a group of officers and intelligentsia calling themselves the Kana Rastodon or the People's Party had successfully seized control of the government. Key government officials are under arrest and the king and his heir are said to be safe and well looked after by the new government. How can you get that level of breakthrough? It's their companies. Unfortunately, I don't think we can see what they are. No, we can't. But they have several companies which are really good for medium tanks. Just like Germany has, I think, for heavy tanks. And Austria. Right, a new research. We don't have those yet. Working on them. Right, planes. We need to upgrade the Hurricane so we can actually start getting an air force going. Right, and the Air Force can stop drilling. And we can start drilling parts of the Navy. So what do we do first? I think we're going to do... this fleet. Bye-bye, oil. It was nice knowing you. Like a year's supply down to 18 days. We're going to need to buy in a little bit of oil. And we shall buy it from Mexico and Persia. And we can deploy some... oh, wow. That was quick.
Yes, sir!
That should also be enough to send some volunteers. It is. We can send 2.
Yes,
so.
sir.
Oh man, these are tanks. Yay.
Orders!
Let's put you guys in a new army.
Come on!
Back, sod it. Let's put you in a new army.
Ready to move!
With him in charge so we can get some more experience. And we shall send them. David Sterling. Manuel Carles assumes full control of Argentina. When Manuel Carles executed a coup against the Argentinian state on the Christmas of 1935, the nation was torn apart in a vicious struggle for control over the presidency. LPN forces from the Argentinian Navy quickly took control of the capital, but were stopped by forces of the army. Mordred challenged you to build a tank with more breakthrough than France's tanks over the weekend in the tournament. In one of your future games, I don't think the UAB has what it takes. If I remember, he ended Sunday with 1,800. Yeah, let's have a look. We don't have what it takes. We have heavy tank manufacturers. And definitely not even the best ones. We do, however, have very defensive artillery. Those are actually kind of poor. We have really good aircraft and ships, though. 15% production cost reduction for fighters. You what, mate? Alright, British Air Force is insane. Can't I just take these up with the air and naval modifiers instead? Pretty please. Interesting.